Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope everybody's still safe out there. Just sitting around. I was on Facebook and somebody posted something about The Wizard of Oz being remade, and of course you're getting all the comments and everybody going, "Oh, you can't remake that. It's a masterpiece." Blah 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 blah. And other people just saying, "Oh, it's cool. Just remake it, remake it." And I'm like, and it got me thinking. It's not going to be a remake. If they make another Wizard of Oz movie, it's definitely not going to be a remake, and especially of the 1939 masterpiece, which is definitely what everybody is talking about, worried about that they're going to ruin. First of all, if they do make another Wizard of Oz movie, which is inevitable because they've made countless. People always think 1939 one was the only one ever made besides a few cartoons. No, there's been a Wizard of Oz or a Muppets version. There's been so many cartoons, TV series. The Wiz, which is uh, taken from the stage version and then made as a movie in the theater. Sorry. Anyway, but I was thinking, I started posting as a joke, just kind of trolling people a little bit and saying, well, are you talking about a remake of the original 1910 version? Or are you talking about a remake of the 1925 version with Oliver Hardy, which is terrible, by the way? Or are you talking about the 1939 version? Because if you're using your own logic against you, the 1939 version is would be also considered a remake. So I just want to. These are just opinions, but I want to talk about the difference between remakes, reboots, and retellings, and very similar things, but also a little bit different in their own ways. The first thing I'm going to do, because it was the Wizard of Oz that was being talked about in the video or in the thread, is the Wizard of Oz. So the Wizard of Oz is what I consider. I would call this a retelling, because the source material is a book. And if the source material is another movie, then you got either a reboot or a remake. But if the source material is a completely different, something completely different, like a book or maybe a play or just a radio story, something to that effect, then it's a retelling, right? So since The Wizard of Oz is originally from a book, then I consider that a retelling. You're just making another version, another screen adaptation of a story that's already been written. You know, like say, oh, Carrie's a remake, and then the other Carrie, the TV version was no, they're not remakes. They're just retellings of the original story. You can call them what you want, but the source material wasn't the original movie, so they might use elements and ideas, which most people do because they want to keep things familiar, because it sells more theater tickets, and you know that counts more than art, right? But that being said, to me that's a retelling. Now these are just my opinions. You can have your own opinions, and you can argue with me. And you know, if you do decide to make a comment about it, just keep it friendly. There's no reason. We're not here to hate each other. So anyway, because this came out in 1925, and again, I only own it because I'm a fan of The Wizard of Oz. I like the books, I like the movies, I like the cartoons. But this is awful. I'm going to tell you right now, it is god awful. But I'm also a fan of Oliver Hardy, so that's another reason why I got it. And he plays the Tin Woodsman, but he's not really. I don't know. This doesn't really follow the movie or the original story very much. But anyway, it's awful. And of course, we got the 1939 masterpiece that everybody loves, most loved movie of all time. But again, retelling, not a remake. Much like War of the Worlds, 1953, War of the Worlds, which is the original source material. It was obviously the original story, written back when by H.G. Wells, and then of course it was done by Orson Welles on the radio, and there's been various versions. Even the same year, the retelling, as I like to call it, again, came out. There's also another War of the Worlds movie that came out that is pretty bad, and they actually made a sequel to that one, which I've never seen. But yeah, again, retellings, not remakes. Now, go on to reboots. And a reboot is obviously you have an original story, like Halloween, something familiar. That's why I'm using Halloween, because everybody knows it, or at least has heard of it. Most people have seen it. And it spawned all the sequels, and then Rob Zombie comes along and makes the reboot. You know, the first one you can call a remake, I guess, because if you're not planning to make any more, then you're just remaking the original story. But he did do a sequel. And, but yeah, that would be a reboot, because it's turning it off, turning it on again with a whole new story. And yeah, a lot of people dislike this movie. A lot of people love it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's an amazing reboot, but I don't think it's terrible. Again, another reboot. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, originally 1974, Tobe Hooper masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. It's one of my top 2 favorite horror movies of all time. You can probably see off to the side of the screen there, the edge of the poster on the wall, and I got all kinds of gunner hands and leather faces back there behind me. Probably hard to see on the small screen here, but anyway. And then of course it's a reboot, because it's a series and then another series kicking off a new beginning. And then much like Halloween, you got sequels to the original coming out and retconning some things, and then, Halloween, the original's kind of done that a couple times now. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. And another example of reboot is Ghostbusters. And then, of course, we have the Ghostbusters reboot, which is right here. And excellent movie. This is the only version of the reboot I'll ever get, because it's a piece of shit movie, and I don't advise watching it because it really, really sucks. Anyway. Bang! Good, I hope it broke. And now I'm 100%, or not, sorry, I'm not 100% sure if the source material for the Crazies came out of George Romero's brain, or if there actually is a book. I never bothered to look into it, but just for the sake of the video, I'm going to talk about this as a remake. So, it's a standalone film, no sequels. It's just the movie is the movie, what it is, and then a few years later, somebody comes along and does the same thing. The better example I could have used, and for some reason I didn't even think of it until right this second, would be King Kong. 1933, then 1976, you got a remake of it. Now, King Kong did have a sequel, and so did the 1976 version. So I don't know, is it a reboot? Is it a remake? And then Peter Jackson's version, of course, is a direct remake of the original film. And then here I kind of go into the gray area, because you got Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George Romero again, masterpiece. See the poster behind me. It's one of, like I said, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of my top 2 favorite horror films ever. And then you got the one that Tom Savini directed and did the effects for in 1988, 89. I don't know. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read the exact date. But anyway, I call it the gray area because there's no sequels to this, and it was a direct remake of this, but then this has five or six sequels. You got Day, Dawn, Day, whatever. A bunch of sequels, and most of them are okay. And but so I put that in the gray area. But that's the difference between a reboot, a remake, and a retelling. The retelling, the source material wasn't a movie; it was a book or some other medium, or some other media, something completely different. It wasn't a movie. A remake is a standalone movie with a standalone remake, generally, and a reboot is you have a series, and then that series comes to a close, or somebody decides to start up a whole new version of that exact same story, but changing it in their own ways, and that would make it a reboot. Turning off your computer, turning it back on. And anyway, really, that's all I got to say about that. Like I said, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me, you can comment, you can do whatever. You can ignore this. I don't care. For the 5 people that might possibly watch this, thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it is what it is. It's me standing in front of a camera or me riding my bike. That's pretty much it. And but it's something to do because I'm bored. And anyway, I hope everybody stays safe, and summer's coming up. Let's make the best of it in spite of COVID and everything else. In Canada, we're under another lockdown again. But hopefully things will start to look better in the near future. All right, I guess until the next one, take it easy.